Hello everyone, I'm Vi. I'm e-commerce marketing expert at Omnisend, and today, by popular demand, we're gonna talk about behavioral segmentation. And it's gonna be a masterclass for a good reason, because we're gonna have Laurel, who is our senior account expert at Omnisend. And I'm so excited for everyone to meet Laurel if you haven't seen her other webinar before, and get that experience of having your actual account expert guiding you through every step of the way. And the best thing is you'll get to ask Laurel questions as well, which I really encourage to take this opportunity. Laurel, would you like to say hello?
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for the introduction. And hi, everyone. I'm really excited for our webinar today. I was just telling earlier that this is a conversation that I have, or a topic that I have with our customers every day. So really excited to share a little insight with you all on behavioral segmentation.
Fantastic. Before we begin, a couple of things to know. This session is being recorded, and you will receive the recording in a couple of days. And we will include the slides and any of the resources we're going to share throughout. And also, if you have any questions for Laurel, at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A tab. So drop your questions in there, and then we will either pause to answer them, or we will wait till the end and answer those then. We also have a customer support in the chat, so if you have any other questions or concerns, drop a message in there, and then we'll be happy to answer that. Okay, Laurel, the stage is yours.
Actually, first, we'll go over the agenda real quick. So for today, first going to start off with what behaviors really matter. Then from there, the core segments that drive results, spotting and fixing segmentation gaps. And then I also have a really fun bonus checklist that, of course, after our call today, you'll be able to start and reflect on this for weeks, months to come. And then, of course, right after, we'll do a quick Q&A. So if you have any questions, please drop it in the chat. Any questions that you have, please don't hesitate. So there's three key concepts today that we're really going to focus on and what you'll truly learn. So the first thing is that which customer behaviors matter most, and exactly how are we going to act on them. Second, which core segments drive better engagement and revenue. And then lastly, how to spot and fix segmentation gaps holding your business back. So the problem, many e-commerce businesses still rely on old automations. So the generic drip campaigns or infrequent email blasts. But that no longer impresses the modern shopper, in the sense that that old way is more of that time-based series sent to everyone. So you send, today, then the following day, let's say to all contacts. But we're going to focus on that dynamic way. So we're triggering the response to each customer based off of their specific behavior and their action. Now, my favorite thing, of course, is when I'm on a call with a customer for the first time, I go to the dashboard. And in your dashboard, you're going to see a live view. And so in that moment, you're able to see in real time customers on your website, the products that they're viewing, the pages that they're viewing, placed order. So we're actively collecting this information from your website. And that's exactly what we're going to focus on, what we're going to take advantage on. And that's going to really expand that revenue and overall engagement for your account. So real quick, mentioning like live view and being able to view this on, those customer calls that I have every single day. We're really focusing on that behavior-based email automation. So a page view, we're triggering in automation based off of that specific action. So page view. So it's not that fixed schedule. So automated messages are triggered exactly by that customer behavior. And then of course, the content and timing are prompted by exactly what that shopper is doing or doesn't do. So here's a quick overview of just the overall behavior-based email automations. Now, it does say email automations, but keep in mind, we do have multi-channel capabilities. So in your welcome series, you can include SMS channels, view a product, you can send a browse follow-up or product follow-up, you can add those conditional splits for not engaging with the email, follow up with the SMS channel. I'll dive a little bit deeper in a few slides, but again, there's so many capabilities and we make it as simple as possible for you. You can just add the template and you're ready to go. So 3 more I'll just briefly go over. As you know, we have the abandoned cart, course, we have the abandoned checkout. And then the next stage is going to be they placed an order, whether it's their first time purchase, their second purchase, their VIP. But we have the VIP, but then there's that opposite stage, those that became inactive. And so with those inactive, as you can see from the first journey, we're going to send a welcome series. And then that last journey, of course, well, now we don't want it to make it become a last journey, but we're going to re-engage and provide those re-engagement offers to your customers to get them back to being an engaged subscriber. So like I mentioned, automations, we, of course, are actively collecting the engagement from your store in a second. So in your automations, you're going to have triggers. So Omnisend platform captures those real-time events from your store, such as signups, page views, etc., and lets you build workflows triggered by those events. So I wanted to quickly highlight this and exactly why does this matter? I'm discussing, your Omnisend account, we're actively collecting this event, but there's results that come with this. The conversion power of a behavior-based automation is 10 times greater. 10 times greater. And why does it matter? So on average, 1 in 3 people who click on an automated, so behavior-triggered message, end up making a purchase, compared to just 1 in 18 of traditional scheduled newsletters. So the ROI of behavior-based automations: high conversions, low volume. Automated email generates 37 of email-driven sales while only representing a small portion, only 2% of total sends. So if you don't have your welcome automation, a browse abandonment, product abandonment, you're leaving serious money on the table. And so again, we're really going to focus on simple and easy ways that we can create simple strategies, enable it today, and you're going to sit back and watch the revenue drive. Now I'm focusing on automations and the events that we're able to trigger within automations. And yes, there's definitely a focus with the revenue that's driven from those automations. But we're also can take advantage of all this data within segmentation. So we can focus on those campaigns that you're sending out, whether it's a promotion or a new arrival, or just a simple, letting them know about your store, building that relationship with your customers. So again, we can really easily build this within our segmentation builder. So the first aspect is, of course, with the importance of segmentation. First, higher engagement always equals better deliverability. When it comes to major ISPs, they're always evaluating your list hygiene, the quality of your list, but also overall engagement. If you're sending to all contacts, as you know, it's going to start weighing down on your engagement. And so while you're sending those emails that you worked so hard on and are so beautifully crafted, ISPs are going to be evaluating your emails, the engagement that come with it, and decide exactly where your emails are going to be placed in the inbox. So there's truly an investment when it comes to utilizing segmentation. And then from there, you're of course going to have less unsubscribes and opt-outs. And then of course, with opt-outs, with the higher engagement, less opt-outs, but also less spam. You're also providing a more personalized experience, driving higher conversion rates and a higher ROI, of course. So again, when it comes to those, emails that you're sending out or the ones that you're spending a beautiful time on, you're collecting these contacts on your list today. And yes, if you're sending to all contacts right now, let's really focus and hone in on that personalization approach. I have a customer, they sell, they're in the pet industry. And so what I really resonate with their current strategy right now, and they've done a fantastic job, is they used to send to a little bit of a larger segment based. But then they started catering to the preference management page where you're asking about, what would you like to hear about? Dogs, cats. And so it made me start thinking, of course, when I'm preparing for our conversation today is, if you're sending out an email campaign about cat food, would a dog owner want to receive cat food? Most likely not. So we're thinking about ways that we can approach with your brand and the products that you sell on that customer's current journey. All right. So next, we're going to talk about the key principles of effective segmentation. Now, I'm really going to break this down in simple concepts, and I'm really going to dive in a little bit deeper. But again, if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat. I'm more than happy to answer. I'm very, very eager. So as mentioned, we have data sources in segmentation. We have subscription data, behavioral data. Now, behavioral data, of course, is product viewed, page views, cart views, you name it. Then from there, of course, we have that transactional. So that starts going into that cart and checkout process, more of that placed order event, canceled, refunds. And then we also have the demographic and preference data. So preference management page, where you can have set up like custom properties, just like that example of dogs and cats. So what would you like to hear about? You can ask them about what frequency, what types of emails that they would like to receive. So you're catering to their preferences, of course. But then there's that other aspect, demographic, location. I have a customer also who does a fantastic job with their demographics where, they're in the sports industry and there's different seasons with their sports, different teams and whatnot. So they cater their demographic within their segmentation to target certain arrivals for certain sports teams or sports seasons. And it really resonates with their audience. And I see such a high conversion rate when they started really focusing on that aspect of utilizing the data sources within their segmentation. So I'll go over this just real quickly. So of course, as you know, there's that customer journey, like I mentioned. You start from subscribe to marketing, you go through the behavioral segmentation to then, or the behavioral data to then those transactional. And then from there, this is where really what I mentioned, where we're going to start diving into those core segments. These are the type of segments that when I'm on a call with a customer and they're asking, for the first time, I don't know where to begin with segmentation. These are exactly what I share. The first step is focus on the engaged. So engage 30, 60, 90 days, identifying the recent openers or clicks. You can also focus on that hyper engaged. So target most active subscribers. I'll show you an example in a few slides. And then we have the non-purchasers. So those that haven't made a purchase, but they're actively viewing your page, a specific category, certain product. This is the perfect opportunity from that data that we collected and upsell. And then we have, of course, the high LTV. So, of course, with those lifetime values, we want to also reward your VIP members and increase that LTV. And then lastly, of course, we have unengaged subscribers going into the mind of deliverability and focusing on, behavioral-based segmentation, increasing your engagement. We also want to keep in mind those unengaged subscribers as well. Those that have received multiple messages, haven't once clicked, haven't once opened, or haven't even placed an order. These are things that I would definitely consider and look into, especially with the holidays approaching and also long term. So always look into your unengaged subscribers. Yes, clean your list, but also look at the current strategy that you have. Are you utilizing automations? Is there a way for those that opted in to receive a welcome? Yes, beautiful. What other aspects do we have during their current journey? Identify exactly how did they initially become engaged. It could be list hygiene practices. Do you have double opt-in on your form? But it could also be how are we reaching them right now on their current journey? And how are we able to resonate with that certain customer and contact to get them to come back and make that conversion? And then that same process, that lapsed customer. So we want to reactivate that same journey. Let's follow up with customers that have placed an order quite some time ago. And we want to use that tone to get them to come back. And then, of course, from that lapsed customers, we have your recent purchasers. Those could be fairly new customers. And then, of course, I'll share some examples on how we want to exclude recent purchasers from your email campaigns, especially if you have a high cadence right now. We don't want to cause that email fatigue. So first thing, The email engaged. So we have the 30, 60, or 90. Now, as you can see within the filters right now, we have it set based off of always start with the subscription status, as you know. But then the next filter is going to be have open message at least 3 times in the last 60 days. Now, keep in mind also like open message at least 3 times. Consider your current strategy right now on overall cadence. If you have multiple automations already enabled, you're sending multiple emails within your campaigns tab, consider like that engagement for your open message. Without a doubt, I always suggest at minimum have it be at least 2. Anything below, if they're a first-time subscriber, we want to keep in mind overall deliverability. And so we can acknowledge that they've opened 2 emails in the last 60 days and have clicked at least 1 time in the last 60. And that is an engaged subscriber. That is someone who is very interested in your products, your emails, and they want to go back to your website. So as you can see also, I want to point this out in the filters, there's that and. Now you can switch that to or. If you do switch it to or, my suggestion would be really focus on, this right now has open message 3 and have clicked at least 1. I would also suggest have it be, let's say for an example, have open message at least 2 times in the last 60 or have clicked on at least 2 times in the last 60. This way, of course, like we're really focusing on acknowledging, very engaged subscribers in the last 60. Now, this is for the 60 days. You can also utilize this for your 30, your 90, and we'll take it a step further with some additional filters. But this is the perfect benchmark. So as mentioned, so engaged, we're including the subscription statuses, we're focusing on your open and clicked, and we're defining the message channel. So in that example, we're focusing on your email. You can do that same process for your SMS campaigns, your push subscribers, you name it. But speaking of email, also consider Apple Privacy Opens. Apple Privacy, they're always going to leave it as opened. So keep that in mind when you're building up your segmentation. You, of course, can like switch up and have it be excluded for Apple Privacy in one filter and what I call a bubble, and then have your or condition for those that are not Apple Privacy and whatnot. And so when? Now, of course, right here it says use 80% of the time when sending campaigns, but also consider your current cadence. If you're sending to a 30-day engaged every single day, we don't want to cause that email fatigue. So if you're, depending on your cadence, let's say you send 2 emails a week, that's great. I say we take it a step further though, and I'm going to share some examples on how we can take it a step further. But we want to consider that the cadence overall in your current strategy, as well as your automations, to make sure that we're not sending too many messages, but we're also still targeting in a way that approaches the customer on a personalization approach and get them to create that conversion. So as mentioned, why are we going to use this engage segment? It comes down to maintain great deliverability. Less emails end up in spam, more contacts are seeing and engaging with your emails, and that means more revenue for you. And then as another example for engaged segments, this is an example of a very hyper engaged. So if you have a very high cadence strategy right now, or of course, like this is where I would really focus on a little bit of a higher number of messages or that data. So as you can see, open message at least 5 times. In the last example, it was 3 times. So we're increasing that amount. And then, of course, click message at least 3 times. So open and clicks are higher. Frequency is a shorter period of time. When this is great for quick results from campaigns, I also suggest utilizing A/B testing. So like your subject lines, your content, your call to actions. This is the perfect time, especially with Black Friday, Cyber Monday around the corner. Utilize A/B testing. And when it comes to A/B testing, make sure that you also just start small. If it's a call to action above the fold or below the fold, have that be, above the fold for version A, version B be a below the fold. We want to start small so we can really identify exactly what was that winner in that sense. So again, when it comes to A/B testing, I definitely suggest trying out the hyper engaged. These are customers that are very engaged. We know that they're going to go to their inbox and open your email. So this is a great way to utilize that data. And then, as you know, I always keep talking about deliverability, but it really does boost deliverability. So this is a really, really great strategy. And then from there, we have purchasers and non-purchasers. So here's a standard template. As you know, you add your filter, have placed an order at least one time in the last 6 months. My favorite opportunity that I always share with customers is, okay, we can use placed order, but we can also utilize the data about exactly what product did they purchase? What category did they purchase from? And so I had a customer recently who tested this out for the first time, and I was so excited yesterday while I was on the call with them. So what they did is they utilized the placed order. They had a new arrival that was coming out, and it was for a existing category on their site. And so what they did is underneath that filter right there where you see the three dots, they added the product category contains for that said category. So it resonates. We're acknowledging that there's customers on your website right now that have placed orders in the past for categories that best fit with your upcoming arrival or upcoming promotion. And then you can start from there. Now, with that said, let's say someone hasn't made or placed an order for that said category. That's okay. Because what we can do, just like you saw in the email or the engaged example, there's that and in place. We can switch that to an or. And so we can have placed order at least one time in the last 6 months, let's say, add that filter right below for category, product category. And then you can, of course, have placed order at least one time in the last 3 months or 30 days. So we're acknowledging those that have placed an order for that category and also very recent orders as well. You'll also do the same setup for the non-purchasers as well. The only thing that you would have to change is switch the have to the have not. So in summary, the how transactional placed order filters for your purchased and non-purchaser segmentation. And the when, you have post-purchase workflows, you have also replenishment reminders, cross-sell opportunities. These are really simple setups, and you won't even have to really truly set up it within segmentation. You have to go straight to your automations, put the filters in, and you just set up that email and you're ready to go. But we can also set up, just like I mentioned, new arrivals, special promotions in your campaigns to have with segmentation strategies just like this. And then lastly, splits and automations. I absolutely love a split. If any of my customers are on the call right now, they know this too. But you can add conditional splits or, placed orders, segmentation splits, you name it. And then the whys, purchasers already trust your brand, increase their LTV. And then non-purchasers just need to build a little bit more trust. They need a sense of, the understanding the why. So that LTV that I mentioned, same concept with the place or the purchasers and the non-purchasers. But for the purchasers this time, we're focusing on also total spent. So in this case, in this example, we have subscription status and the total spent is more than $300 who have placed an order at least 3 times in total. So we're acknowledging that they have at least the total spent was more than $300 and they've placed an order at least 3 times in total. That's a lifetime value right there if I've ever seen one. So this right here, it's acknowledging that we have an engaged and a very loyal customer. If you have an upcoming promotion, this is the perfect opportunity to also reach those customers because we're already identifying that they've placed a high amount or the high amount of value within the products that they've placed before. And then from there, we have an unengaged subscriber. Now, when it comes to the unengaged, what I'd like to focus on first is the message sent. We want to identify exactly how many messages have we already sent to them, and then take it a step further. So from there, we have not opened a message at least 3 times in the last 3 months, and have not clicked 1 time in the last 3 months. Now, what I would also suggest too is adding the have not opted in at least one time in the last, let's say, 30 days. For the reason there could be contacts that subscribed in the past, then they opted out. And so they're still on your contact list. We have all the data, which is beautiful, all the historical data. But if we build this segment right now, if they just re-opted in because now they're interested yet again, we want to make sure that that's also they're not included in that segment. So what I would suggest to you, if you're first starting off with an unengaged subscribe list, start with these as a benchmark, but also add additional conditions. So have not opted in at least one time in the last 30 days. Take a look though and make sure. And then keep building onto it. But these are the core filters that I would first start with the unengaged.
Laura, I'll just jump in because we have a question and I know we're going to move on to other things. So I think I just want to capture it because it's about engagement and engaged segments.
Yes.
So Zoe is asking if you send email campaigns advertising new products, etc., infrequently, like once every 2 weeks, how do you segment for engagement level since there aren't enough emails to separate them by number or clicks or opens?
That is a great question. I would then also focus on that behavioral segmentation. So those that have visited for the first time or the placed order, use more of that behavioral versus like have not clicked. Those are the perfect opportunities. So when we have like that and filter, we can also switch that to the or. So they just have to meet one of those conditions as well. Any other questions?
That's it from now. Zoe, if you have any follow-up questions, just drop it in the Q&A tab. We'll pick it up shortly. And
Okay.
Michael says this is pure gold. So here you go. Keep going, Laurel.
Awesome. I'm so glad to hear it. But yes, please ask away. I love the questions. All right, so then we have your lapsed purchasers. Now, these, of course, are those that have placed an order. We're acknowledging this. And then, but we're also acknowledging that they have not placed an order at least one time in the last 6 months. So in these cases, of course, if you have, an upcoming promotion, we could also consider including those. I would just keep in mind, excluding an unengaged segment in the mind of deliverability. What I mean by unengaged is those cases of, have received a message at least 15 times and they've never opened. In that sense, we might want to consider cleaning the list. And then same process, recent purchasers, again, have placed order at least one time in the last 14 days. Then you can take it a step further with, the discounts, the amount, the product categories, product titles, so many options. So next I want to just highlight things to avoid and some additional tips. So things to avoid. First, don't apply too many filters or over segment just yet. Start with the basics, just like those examples that I've shared today. Then from there, review a few of the contacts. My favorite thing is when I get on a call with a customer, we'll build a segment together. And then I also like to take a step further and click on a contact profile of a contact that's in that segment and just look at their overall journey. See if there's any key indications that we can find. Now we can also do that with reporting too, but it's just nice to be able to see exactly, okay, is there any other additional filters we should add? Because if we add too many, it's going to be hard to measure over time exactly, what the key strategy is or key focus with that specific segment. So start small. And things to avoid: segmentation without a purpose. Segmenting has a purpose, whether it's an engaged, they recently placed an order, they're a lapsed purchaser. There's so many opportunities on what to do. For an example, like segmenting without a purpose, it could just be someone viewed your page one time, 2 years for the last 2 years. There's not that key distinction on exactly, okay, what is that strategy though? Yes, we're acknowledging that they viewed your website 2 years ago or in the last 2 years. But what about those that have recently viewed or a specific page or a specific product? We want to segment with a purpose. And then don't forget to update your segment logic. I suggest at least preferably once a month. But That's my preference. I always think it's best, as you know, within marketing, within the industry, things are always changing. Behaviors are always changing. And so we want to also change that within our segmentation filters as well. So don't forget, if you've been using a segment for quite some time, I would suggest at least have 10 minutes today. Go over and look at your segment, reflect on the webinar from our conversation today, and start with like you're engaged. Okay, what are the filters and what can we do to add on to this moving forward as well? And then things to avoid as well, forgetting to exclude irrelevant segments. So for an example, if you have a high cadence, don't forget to exclude a segment such as those that have received multiple messages but haven't opened, or have received a recent campaign, let's say 5 campaigns in the last 2 weeks, and they placed an order in the last 3 days. Sometimes, of course, we want to be mindful of the cadence and limit that email fatigue from your customers. So if we can acknowledge that they already placed an order and they're going to go through your transactional automations, I would suggest, exploring those type of exclusions within your campaigns. And then from there, I have some additional tips. So again, utilize exclusions in your campaigns. Use segments in forms for targeting purposes. Highly recommend. I absolutely love our targeting feature within our forms. It's super easy. All you have to do is go over to the form settings, and then you can select a segment you can use for showing or also not showing. But then we also make it easy too with ways that you can not display the form for those that are coming from specific sources. So like Facebook, Instagram, you name it. And then also, I really suggest splits and segments or split by segment in automations. My absolute favorite is conditional splits. So a cart sum split in your abandoned cart automation, adding a split to your browse. I have one of my favorite strategies too is, for your abandonment automations. Your abandonment automations, of course, you can split based off of subscription status. So if you're utilizing like email and SMS, you can split based off of those that we're acknowledging already, subscribe to email or not even subscribe to SMS, and then use that split as a segment and then cater and highlight to those and acknowledge, for example, those that are not subscribed to SMS and have them come to convert as a SMS subscriber now. And biggest tip, always use reporting. You're spending all this beautiful time creating your emails, utilizing segmentation. Let's look into the reporting. Even 2 minutes, go into your reports tab. You can go to your campaigns, your automations, but there's a beautiful synopsis and summary of your segments and your segment reporting. You can see a breakdown of the opens, the click rates, placed orders. Look for key indications. If you're seeing a dip in the overall placed orders for that certain segment, there's there's that insight that we need to look in and maybe change the logic a little bit. And then just like I mentioned about targeting purposes in our forms, same process with Facebook and Google. So in your segments, you can actually sync over to Facebook and Google and use that for retargeting purposes for ads. So here's that example about the campaign reporting and segment performance. So again, I really, really suggest always just take a look at your segment performance and reporting. This is a great key indication here too. So for an example, what I'm seeing right now, clicked in the last 15 days. Look at the click rate, 19%. And the volume, 6,000 messages percent, a 19% click rate. Then from there, let's look at like the like huge tails. That open rate's a little bit lower. Let's dig into that. Let's look into the engagement filters that we have in place. Maybe we need to add a exclusion segment. These are really, really great opportunities as well. And then also use Omnisend AI segmentation filter. So, for an example, you can ask it what type of audiences you want, whether it's email subscribers with at least 2 placed orders. Our AI will build the rules for you, and then our chatbot will also guide you through it. So the prompts, as you can see right there, will ask you, it'll preview. And then of course, when you click on View in Builder, the builder will then pull up. You can also add additional filters, and then don't forget to save the segment. So I've definitely been, of course, highlighting how we're always actively collecting the behavior data. There's so many capabilities and an easy way that you can drag and drop items within the automation, such as the personalized product recommender and automations, or in your campaigns tab. For an example, in your campaigns tab, for those that are on the pro plan, you have, recently viewed products as a way to utilize like personalization. And so we can showcase in that item the exact products that they recently viewed. And if they haven't viewed a product recently, we can set that fallback of your best selling, recently added products to your website. There's so many ways that we can automatically add and scale your overall strategy with that data that we're collecting. So I highly recommend take a look at the product recommender item. It's one of my favorites as well. And you're going to see a huge difference with those conversions as well. And it really comes down, customers are going to gravitate to things that resonate with them, making it personalized. If you are a dog owner, do you want to see cat food? Think of that way. All right. And then as promised, I have a checklist. So the first is one, we're going to diagnose the checklist to identify gaps in your strategy. So first thing to ask is, do you have segments for each key behavior? Do you have browse, cart, recent purchase, recent opt-in, your inactives? And then also, are you excluding your recent purchasers from promotionals that don't apply to them? And that's in the sense of that email fatigue and deliverability. Do you tailor your messaging based on their engagement level? In the sense of, do we need to reactivate? Are we welcoming new subscribers? And so on. And then, do we know which segments are driving results? Use segment reporting. And then, have your segment roles have been updated in the last 3 to 6 months? And then, second part, technical actions and Omnisend tools to close the gap. First, segment by intent. Identify the high browse but no purchase groups for targeting. Rebuild engagement tiers, the 30, 60, 90. Use exclusions also to avoid that campaign fatigue. We want to be mindful of that deliverability. So exclude recent buyers, utilize your unengaged, or subscribers who have recently received multiple messages in a very short period of time. And then also use Omnisend AI to detect those gaps. So ask our AI segment builder to create high value segments based on your specific store's behavior. So your key takeaways. Start with strategy, not just filters. Segmentation should always align with the customer journey itself. And then use segments in campaigns, automations, and also forms. But don't overcomplicate it. High impact segments can be simple and still drive results. And then make sure, revisit your segments regularly. Keep them dynamic, timely, and performance driven. Here's a little math for you. Segmentation equals relevance, and relevance equals revenue. And behavior-based equals better results. So meet that modern expectation. So think of that dynamic conversation that we had in the beginning of our call today. We want to meet the customer on their specific journey with your store. And leverage Omnisend's tool, our AI capabilities, automations, the splits, are of course our personalization items, you name it. And then again, start small, then scale up. Awesome.
Laurel, thank you so much. I felt as I was on your consultancy call, just, yes, that sounds great.
I'm telling you, this is one of my favorite conversations. I had my last call yesterday. My customer was just saying, like, You're really passionate about this. We're going over segmentation. I'm like, yes, because I see the results. It's just so quick and easy for us to set up, and then you get to sit back and watch the revenue.
Exactly. Exactly. We'll just give everyone a minute. If you have any questions, type it out. I can see a couple coming through. So we'll just give you a moment to type because it takes time. Something that kept coming up to me as you were speaking about is focus on your engaged segments, right? So there's that counterintuitive thing to be chasing people who are unengaged with you, whereas you have that bunch of people who are like, they're spending money with you, they love your brand, they're here like, yes, I love it. And then you're like, okay, cool, but let me focus on those people who haven't opened my message 15 times. So it's just something that I keep reminding myself, and I always keep reminding my customers as well.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. And the biggest advice I would have is like really focus on your automation strategy and take a look at, optimize your automation, see what you're currently reaching, and that's going to really benchmark the way that how you should approach your segmentation too for your campaigns.
Absolutely. And I've seen a question in the chat and from Patty, and I think a lot of people are thinking the same thing. So how many campaigns should I send a week? How many campaigns should I send? It's a question that I remember when I started in e-commerce and marketing 10 years ago. That was the thing. It's still a question now. So what would you say? How do you approach that number game in things? How many should you actually send?
That is a great question, and it's a very important question. Now, when it comes to the overall cadence, I never suggest sending every single day within your campaigns tab, especially if we have automations. So I also would like to consider like the timing. Fridays are a really great opportunity with, um, you know, payday. People have a little bit more money to spend. They're maybe possibly a little bit more eager. And also think of your industry too on overall timing. If you are a baby brand, if you sell baby type products, mothers and fathers, they might be busy running around, and you have to think of the timing on when to send. So when they're, checking their phone, but the amount itself, I always suggest at least two a week. But again, you really want to come down and focus on the reporting aspect. And so if you are currently sending every single day in your campaigns tab, I would scale it back. Maybe let's start with a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Focus on your segmentation, but then also look into your reporting. If you're seeing a distinct, dip right now, and you make that adjustment, you see that increase, let's continue to use A/B testing and vice versa and go from there.
Fantastic. What I'm hearing and what I remind myself is there's never an exact number. There's no silver bullet. Your shop's going to be different. Your segment's going to be different. So sometimes it could work sending
Yeah.
more, sometimes it's less. It's testing.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
And while we are still on the topic, there's a question about abandoned carts and frequency for them. So my question as well on top of that is, should I set up different abandoned carts for different segments? Should I just focus it on it as a trigger and just let it run? Doesn't matter whether the person fall into a segment or not. And how many emails in abandoned cart flow should there be?
I love this question too. So when it comes to the abandoned cart, the biggest thing is that frequency setting. So the limit on how many times a existing contact that just went through the flow and completed it can re-enter if they meet the same condition of adding cart or adding products to cart and then leaving your website. Now, standard practice, I would suggest between 7 and 14 days would be the frequency setting. I do have a few customers also that will also have it be based off of a 5-day frequency setting. But I always suggest if you're gonna lower it to below 7 days, if you make that adjustment, wait at least 2 weeks and let's look at the reporting and see if there's any key differences. So that's the first thing. We want to focus on the frequency setting itself. We want to make sure that we're not creating that behavior or establishing a behavior where if customers know they go to your website, add items to their cart, they're going to receive a message. So we have frequency setting, and then also, your exit conditions. That's something we want to keep in mind too. If you have a checkout abandonment, make sure to include the checkout abandonment within your exit conditions as well for the abandoned cart, because if they start the checkout process, we want to make sure that they exit the cart and enter the checkout. And then also, when it comes to the flow itself, I absolutely love multi-channel. You could do 2 emails and 1 SMS. You could do 1 email, 1 SMS, 1 push, you name it. Um, but let's say you just have 1 email right now. That's fine. We could take it a step further by adding a conditional split. And in that split, we could just make it a cart sum and provide 2 different offers for your discount. So if someone has over $100 in their cart right now, let's add a little bit of a sense of urgency to get them back compared to someone that might not have $100 and you just want to offer a little bit less of a discount incentive as well. So in terms of overall frequencies and the timing itself, we want to be mindful of not creating that behavior, establishing a behavior where customers are expecting that email. And then just the channels itself. We have that data, so we can just add, the cart sum splits and additional channels too.
Like you, Laurel, I love a split. I think it's just such a good experiment. And it's behavioral. We are
Mhm.
playing with those things with urgency and just testing things out. So whenever you mention that, I'm like, yes, yes, we need to cater to more people.
Very true. Very true.
And you also touched on one of the questions that we also have. It's about discounting. And the question is, and I think it's really clever, which segments, in your opinion, whether you mention those or not, which segments respond most strongly to a discount? Because no business likes to give out discounts because of the margins. We want to make profit. But from your experience, are there any segments that you would say, yes, they're very responsive to discounts? Maybe this segment could wait. Again, splits coming to my mind. So what is your opinion and what is your experience here?
Absolutely. This is a really, really great question. So when it comes to automations itself, if you are highlighting that within your forms, your new subscribers are expecting that welcome discount. Now, we can also approach that, and I have multiple conversations about this every week on should I add a discount to my abandonment workflows? You don't have to. We can also set up an A/B split. The easiest way that will save you so much time is add a split, an A/B test. You can clone your current campaign, add it to a version B, and then have that new version have a new, like, let's say even a 10% discount, and then have a split. So now 50% of your contacts that entered are going to go through version A. The rest are going to go through version B and see if there's any of those key indications on which one's more successful. And that's going to give you the insight on how to approach it for your specific store too. And then lastly, when it comes to campaigns itself, it really is going to go down to testing as well. Your VIP customers, it's really great to offer those incentives to them, make them feel valuable. But we also want to approach that too with those that we need to reactivate, those that haven't made a purchase in quite some time. Sometimes people just need a little bit of an extra boost to come back.
Fantastic. That would have been my answer for sure. Something that I would like you to reiterate again, because I think it's so, so important. And I think many of us now hearing you talk about segments, campaigns, emails, there's so much happening. How do we not upset our customers? Like, how do we not bombard it? You mentioned frequency settings and everything. Could you just reiterate it again? Because I definitely still have to this day that fear, oh my God, I'm going to overwhelm them. This is going to be a disaster. What do I do? So what would be your approach to not overwhelm people with our emails?
Oh, that's truly a great question. So what it comes down to is your existing automations. Look at your frequency. Make sure that you have a frequency to make sure that customers aren't re-entering the same automation and receiving the same emails time and time again. We don't want to cause that email fatigue. So that's my first step. Always recommend this. Then, of course, when it comes to your email campaigns as well, start with the 30-day engaged, your placed order segment, and focus on the overall cadence. If we're seeing high opt-outs or those that are starting to market as spam, we need to act fast. We need to change that segment. But it's as simple as that. First, start with your automations, check your frequencies, check your exit conditions, and then cater to your segmentation also in your campaigns tab.
Awesome. And if anyone is thinking out frequency setting what, then you can contact our customer support. They're available 24/7 and they will guide you through it. There are no stupid questions, don't worry. So contact our customer support. They'll guide you through this. You can mention that you heard this at L'Oreal's webinar, and then we can help them to understand what is happening as well. So if you have any questions and you need any help with that, contact our customer support. So checking the chat and the Q&A tab, all looks clear. We are on time. Again, everyone, you will receive the recording in a couple of days. We will include the slides and all the resources that we have shared. So again, thank you so much for being here. L'Oreal, thank you so much for guiding us through this.
Of course. No, thank you so much for having me. And I hope everyone enjoyed it today. Honestly, it's a little sneak peek on what a call is like with a customer success manager or an account expert. So if, of course, you see on your drop-down menu a section that says connect with an account expert, you know where to find me. So
Act on it. Act on
yes,
it.
act on
If it
it.
encourages you.
It's no cost to you, especially if your account's eligible for it. So I highly recommend. We're always very eager to support our customers and their success.
Absolutely. So again, everyone, thank you so much. You'll receive the recording, the slides. You can go through this at your own pace. And thank you so much for asking questions. Again, it's such a joy to be here. And we will see you soon. Thank you so much. Bye.